Hello everybody, my name is Vitaly Neimer and I'm the Grandmaster resident here at the St. Louis Chess Club. Today our lecture is going to be Play Like a Pro. And although I do consider myself as a pro, and lots of members of the club requested to see some of my games. However, due to recent events, I would like to feature a good friend of ours and a member of our club, a guy named Fabi. You probably heard him somewhere. He played somewhere. He won something. So I think that he's pretty close to being a pro. I think that everybody agrees today. So what would be better than to discuss the upcoming match? The upcoming match is going to be held in London in November. So Fabiano is going to have lots of time to prepare. So that makes it 8 months, and yeah, it's going to be interesting how I think that every world champion has its own approach. How many games to play before? How many games? How many seconds or coaches? Even elite players like Caruana and Carlsen, they also have coaches, which is kind of strange because people ask, wait a second, aren't they the best in the world? Well, yeah, the best in the world will still need to practice and being coached. That's why they are the best in the world. So in that case, we call the coaches seconds. So they are kind of the players who assist them in their game. They analyze some lines. Usually, the seconds they are kept as a secret. Anybody knows why do we keep the seconds as a secret? Why nobody reveals their seconds? Exactly, yeah. So usually when you hire somebody, besides the fact that he's a very strong chess player, every chess player has its own unique specialities, strategies. Some people are more tactical, some people are more positional, but especially it's about the openings. So every player has its own opening repertoire, and so you don't want, for example, to get all of your coaches just on one opening, and maybe you want to try to change those openings. But basically, if I know who your coaches are, then I know what they are playing, and thus I know what you might be playing against in the World Champions. So that's probably going to be kept as a secret. So it's going to be in London. As we said, I mean, the match is probably going to be pretty much with the same format as it was before, 12 games. And yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. So far, the classical result between all-time result between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana is 9-5 in the favor of Magnus. They also had a pretty they had a few draws. More precisely, if I'm not mistaken, 17 draws. So I would expect to see lots of draws, but this is pretty much expected in those kind of levels. But so far, Magnus Carlsen has the upper hand in the classical matches. But on the other hand, Caruana has the momentum. I remember that he was asked in a press conference. He was what do you have anything to to say to Magnus? And then the next question, the interviewer asked him if is Magnus happy about about the result of the tournament, that Fabiano that he won the tournament, and Fabi said that maybe he's actually worried. Anyway, so today I wanted to show you a game that Caruana played and beat Magnus Carlsen. It was not too much of a long ago, and he beat him with the black pieces, which pretty important. So if you can beat somebody with the black pieces, it definitely shows that you can win a match, right? If you beat him once, you can do it again. So let's see what happened in the game. The game itself happened right here in the St. Louis Chess Club at our most famous tournament, the Sinquefield Cup. This game is from 2014, not so long ago. Okay, so Carlsen plays with the white pieces, and Magnus starts with the move e4. So the move e4 is featured, And as you know, Caruana is playing the move e5. That's his favorite response against e4. And Carlsen decides to deviate from the usual knight f3, and he plays this move bishop to c4. This opening has a very unique name. It's called the bishop's opening. Okay, I guess people are really original in their names. Bishop c4. Well, so what's the point of this move, bishop c4? It's not revealing exactly White's ideas. For example, I actually used to play it a few times with White myself. One of the ideas of not putting the knight here on f3 is that White can play d3 and then to play f4. It's kind of the, for example, let's say I play knight c6. I can play d3. Let's say Black plays passive move, bishop e7, and now White plays f4. d6, and now knight f3. So pretty much it resembles the king's gambit, just without the pawn sacrifice, because if he takes on f4, the bishop can take on f4. So this is pretty much the idea of the bishop's opening. Okay, so the main move against the bishop's opening is, also I forgot to mention that obviously on knight c6, Magnus can try to scholarmate, Fabi. I don't know. Maybe this was his intention. So who knows? We never know. We will never know, because Fabiano played this very strong move, knight f6, which prevents both of the scholarmate ideas, queen f3 and queen h5. So I mean, he was prepared. That's why one of the first lesson that we learn, how to prevent the scholars mate.
Deep opening preparation.
Exactly, deep opening preparation. d3 was played. And as I said, if Black plays knight c6, then sometimes White can have this idea to f4. So here, Caruana is playing the main line, following the main line, which is c6. And obviously the idea of c6 is to play this move d5. Knight f3 now. Now f4 will be very, very bad. Because now Black will play still probably just d5. And if we look at the king's gambit for White, when White plays the move e4, e5, f4, besides taking on f4, Black also can play this move d5. This is called the Marshall's counter gambit in the king's gambit. Also very, very popular. So here the basic idea is that, okay, if he is exposing his king on the flank, we're just going to punch him in the center. And this works, trust me. Okay, so so White has to play now knight f3 finally, and Black is playing d5. Now, by the way, if Black wants, he can play bishop e7. He's not too worried about White taking this pawn here, because Black can simply go to a5 and capture this knight. That's a no-brainer. But again, d5 is just a more logical move. Okay, so White to move. Do we take this pawn on d5 or do we go back? What do we do? Yeah, so White to move. Does White take on d5 or he goes back? True, correct. So you don't want to take on d5 because that's only going to improve Black's position. Allow the knight to come to c6, and you're opening up your king. So bishop to b3. Okay, well, bishop to b3 though, can't Black just take here on e4? And if you take me, I'm going to take your queen here on d1, and then I'm going to take on e4, and then I'm going to take on f2. Oops, e4. So what's the problem with d takes e4? Knight takes e5? Oh, if the knight takes on e5, then we have queen a5.
The same one you had earlier.
Yes. Exactly. In this case, if pawn takes here, not to take here, because of this trick. But knight to the other side, knight to g5. And here the game can be very, very sharp. Black can either try to take here, but usually they play something like bishop to e6, and white can decide, it can either take with the knight or with the bishop. But just for example, if it takes with the bishop, take, now we can exchange a bunch of pieces, and white will be having the upper hand because of the very, very nice pawn structure. And those pawns are going to become weaknesses in the future. So this is why taking on e4 is not good. So I guess it's a minor trap. But what to do with black? Really, Fabiano found a very good move here with black. With an, I would give it an exclamation mark. So try to think about it. So black to move.
Knight d7, knight b to d7.
Okay, knight b d7. So that's the simple way, just to defend the e5 pawn.
Also want to play knight c5.
Knight c5. Okay. Yeah. So the question is, how do we defend this pawn on e5? Because white simply wants to castle and attack this pawn on e5. So there are a few ways. For example, we can play knight d7. We can play bishop g4. We can play bishop d6. Or, as somebody suggested here, bishop to b4 check. Bishop b4 is actually not defending the pawn. But let's look at the other ideas first. If bishop to g4, then he can play h3. And then we have to figure out what to do with this bishop. Do we really want to take it for exchange it for the knight? Because otherwise, something like this might happen, and I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but what might happen in the future. Also, so bishop knight to d7 slightly doesn't look so logical to me because it's blocking my bishop and the queen, and I know that I will need them in the game. So in the game, Fabiano did play this move, excellent move, bishop to b4 check. So you're correct. Good job. You're guessing all of his moves today. Are you his second? Don't tell us. Otherwise, you're going to research your openings. Oh, we can bribe him, right? Okay, so bishop to b4 check. What's the idea of this move? Well, it basically asks white to commit to some move. White can play knight c3, bishop d2 or c3. Knight c3 is impossible because of d4, obviously, so I'm going to delete this one. But basically, it commits white to playing something. For example, if black instead would play bishop d6 instead, well, white can simply play knight c3, and here's a nice position. So instead, it plays a check first. c3 is being played. That's usually the move, and now bishop to d6. Bishop to g5. The idea of the move is now the knight is pinned, and now white wants to take here on d5. So we have to respond to this, and black takes on e4, takes. Now h6. So as you can see, in all of those positions, what is so interesting is it looks like black is slightly worse because I'm playing black, but he also delays his castle as much as possible. Pretty much what he did against Grishchuk. So he plays h6 first, just asking the bishop, hey, where are you going? Are you keeping with the pin here by playing bishop h4? Are you going to take on f6? Are you going to go back to somewhere else? So that's a good probing move for black. The bishop went to h4, and still he does not castle. But he plays this move queen to e7. This is kind of a very favorite move of his. This move queen e7 and then moving the queen somewhere. Very interesting. Knight bd2, knight bd7, still no castle. And now Magnus played this move bishop to g3. I'm not sure that this move was really necessary for white to play because the bishop on h4 looks pretty good. But I think maybe at some point maybe Magnus was concerned about black playing g5 and starting some attack on the king side while black can castle long side. It's very hard to tell. The good thing about bishop to g3 is that it creates lots of pressure on this pawn on e5. For example, one of black's ideas in this position was to play this move knight d7, and then knight f8, and then knight g6. This is a very famous plan in De Ruy Lopez that we see for white is doing many times, kind of the same way. Both of the players actually do it on their own. So the idea of bishop to g3 is that now black cannot play this move knight f8. So what's the problem with this move knight to f8? So white to move here. Yeah, so here, so this is correct. So here just simply knight to c4. If you take on e4, then I can probably add a castle or take on d6. So this is not possible here. This move knight to f8. So bishop to g3 was played. Now black plays this move bishop to c7, and now white castles. Okay, well now I've hidden my bishop on c7. What if I try knight f8 here? So my plan is knight g6, bishop somewhere e6 or g4, and then I just want a long castle and then mate you. Just FYI. So why to move? Why knight f8 is a bad move? Well, flip the board for you guys. So you won't go for it? You won't go for the sacrifice?
I wouldn't play it.
Come on, where's your fighting spirit?
What would be wrong with queen to c7?
Queen to c2?
I mean c2, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, but then you don't prevent my plan. Knight g6. I'm going to develop my bishop, then maybe castle long side or castle short side. It's quite strange to see those the difference between those bishops, because that's what's the difference in the position. My bishops, black's bishops are just tucked in, all defended on that side, and while white's bishops are, much more active. But it doesn't mean that they're much worse. So in this position, the best move for white.
It's white's move.
Yeah, knight h4. I'm not. Knight h4 is probably possible, and then knight f5. It's a nice jump. I'm not sure exactly what to do. Maybe just g6. But yeah, that's an interesting option. So the idea was actually correct. It's just to sacrifice here on e5. Knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and now knight c4. And we cannot take on e4 because of rook e1, obviously. Or knight d6, right? Even better. So queen c7, and now we have knight d6 check. The king probably does not want to go to the d file because it's going to be some kind of a discovered check on f7 maybe, or b5. And so king e7, and here we have a lot of choices. We can either just take here on f7, or maybe just play e5 and see what happens. And this looks pretty bad for black. Everything is exposed. So that's the difference. This is why we can't play knight to f8. Instead, black has heard your idea with knight h4, and he played knight h5 himself. And so it's funny how those bishops are developed. White has developed his bishops, but now black is coming for them. Okay, what to do here with white? What would you guys play here with white? I think that in this position is where Magnus Carlsen made his first inaccuracy, I would say. Okay, so you suggest a knight takes e5.
I traded rook and knight. I traded bishop and knight for rook and knight.
I am.
Queen E8.
Yeah, the rook is up.
Yeah, it's 2 pieces for a rook and 2 pawns. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought, but
My queen's
I w-
on E8. I have no
I wonder if I have some. I wonder if I missed something, like something like Queen D6 or something. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe Queen D6. Yes. If I take the Knight E2 check, I can take all my pieces. I just need this one pawn. One pawn can be worth $500,000, so $1 million. Yeah. So no, it wasn't Knight takes E5. So in the game, Magnus played this move H3. Which is quite strange because we don't really need this move H3, and it also weakens the bishop.
You take the bishop immediately, right? You just allow some pawn structure.
Right. Yes, that's correct. So the correct way to play here for white is just not to go too crazy, but you can just play this move Knight C4 that we discussed before, and for example, Knight takes G3, Pawn H takes G3. Usually we want to take towards the center, unless really the F5 is going to be important. But if we put the pawn here on H2, then the E4 pawn is going to be weak in the future. And after take, let's say castles, now white can make this interesting move Knight to E3, releasing his bishop, and at the same time coming here to visit on F5. So I think this is quite equal position. But instead, white played this move H3, which where immediately Fabiano took on G3, takes, and now he played Knight to C5. Okay, so in this position he could also castle, for example, and yeah, if he wanted to. Knight to C5. Okay, white to move. I know that Fabiano won this game. However, he really needed to find a very good defense against Magnus's attack. It doesn't look like Magnus as much, right? All of his pieces are barely crossing the 3rd rank. So how can you attack this king on E8? The king is so safe, and black has 2 bishops. The queen is just next to him. But here he finds an amazing plan, but very risky.
White to play?
Yes, white to play.
Bishop takes F7.
Correct. Bishop takes F7.
95, yeah.
Yeah, and so the problem is that if we take with the queen, the knight takes E5, and queen E7.
And then Queen H5.
Correct. Queen H5, and it's a complete disaster. So, on bishop takes F7, black needs to take with the king.
Right in front of that rook.
He's not afraid.
95?
He's not. Fabi is not afraid of Magnus and not afraid to lose. That's actually a very important quality in the world champion. So king takes on F7. Knight takes on E5. That's correct. Check. Well, the king has to go to G8. That's pretty much the only spot. Again, if I go to E6 or E8, then the queen is going to hunt us. So we need to at least try to tuck out our king here. It's important that the knight on C5, the last move, is defending those important squares like B3 from the queen.
And there's no light square bishop to come after you.
Yes, and there is no light square bishop. That's correct. Okay, knight G6. Attacking our queen. Well, we need to move. So the queen moved to G5. So far makes sense. And now Magnus did the correct move. Rook to F8 check. Why is knight takes H8 is so bad here? Okay, which one? Bishop takes H3, Queen G3, or Queen E3? Okay, nobody wants to take the knight on H8. Nah, it's okay. He's dead anyway. He's resting. You have lots of checks, but you need something to work.
I'm fearless.
It's not. Remember, this is the regular chess. It's not the 3 check win chess variation.
So
C3.
C3
Yeah, take the bishop.
on G3.
No, H3, sorry.
Oh, bishop takes H3. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, because I think that again, if queen to G3, it allows white to bring his pieces and then just defend. So he needs to start with this amazing move, bishop takes on H3. And now, obviously, we want to take on G3, and we're going to have a double attack. And he cannot take the bishop because of just this checkmate in one move, in 2 moves. If white tries to defend with this move, queen to F3, then we can simply just go back. And right now, we defended with our rook. The bishop is defended, everybody is all defended, and this knight is just going to be gone. Also, by the way, this knight on D2 is attacked. So, Carlsen makes the correct move. Rook to F8 check. Okay, we have to go to H7. And now the question is, who needs to take the rook on H8? The knight or the rook? So, both of the captures on H8 are possible. Magnus decided to take with the knight. But I think that's because he missed the next move that black had. He could also take with the rook. For example, rook takes H8 check, king takes here, knight F3. Lots of threats like knight, threatening the queen. Queen E3 check, king H1, knight takes E4, knight H4 check, king G5, check again, king F6. We can trade some queens, take, and king to G1. And okay, what do we have here? We have 2 bishops for a rook, but I think that the position is still unclear. We still need to get those bishops out somehow, and this king is a little bit shaky. So this is a very, very unclear position. So I'm not sure, but this could have happened in the game. Instead, Magnus decided to take with the rook. With the knight on H8, and he missed black's next move, the double exclam move. Let's see who can find it.
Bishop takes H3, picks up the rook.
Bishop H3, and if I play queen F3,
I take the rook.
I also take the rook.
E3,
King H1. Okay. Knight F3. Yeah, that actually might work. So why did I go wrong? Queen A3, maybe king F1. Yeah, so here immediately black needs to play bishop G4. This is also pretty interesting. Bishop H3, but then I think queen F3 is the move, and take here, queen back, check here, check. Oops, check here. And it seems like white is okay, because if you take on G2, I can take your queen. Yeah, very complicated. Anyway, so in the game, Fabi played bishop to G4, a nice discovered attack suddenly. And that was the problem. So bishop to G4, queen to F1, and now knight to D3. Well, the idea is that if you take my rook on A8, then I can follow up with some checks and take here. Or knight F2. That's a very nice move. So knight d3, queen had to take on d3. Rook takes, h takes g4. And again, Fabi doesn't take this knight on h8, but he just takes the pawn on g4.
The knight's not doing anything.
Exactly. Knight to f3, queen takes g3. So picks up all the pawns. e5 check. White has to play this move, otherwise this diagonal is just too risky for him. So e5 check. Now he takes. Well, he forced us. You know, what can we do? So king takes e6. Check, but the white's king is just too exposed. King h1, and now Fabi simply plays this move, queen to g4. You know, the idea is to just take the pawn. If the pawn goes to e7, which did not happen in the game, the rook can simply go here, and if you defend the pawn, I can check. Knight h2, and now bishop c7. And white can defend still with g3, for example, but then after queen f7, we're gonna get this pawn. And once we're gonna get this pawn, then yeah, he has no chance with such a weak king and a pawn down. So in this position, instead of playing e7, he played queen to d6, attacking the rook. Rook d8, queen e5, rook d5. Nice elevator trick. Queen to b8 check, king h7, and e7. Ooh, almost a queen. It's almost there. So what to do now? Do we check on h5 with the queen, or do we check on h5 with the rook? So who is going to come here? Okay. Well, one for the rook, one for the queen. So far it's a tie. Okay. So we have two for the queen, one for the rook. Yeah, so that's exactly what happened in the game. So we need to check with the queen. If we check with the rook, then this is a decisive mistake, because now knight h2, and there is no way to stop the promotion of the new queen. So the queen now is defending this knight, and no tricks on the back rank. And so the idea is that the queen has to go to h5 check. And here Magnus made a decisive mistake, probably time pressure, and he defended with the knight. Ouch, yeah. The correct move was to defend it with the queen. And now, yeah, you guys were correct. So now we don't want to exchange the queens, but queen e8, and the game continues. Still, black is probably better. Although this pawn is dangerous, but I think that eventually we're going to get it. With those two moves, we're going to get this pawn, but it's going to take us a while. In the game, Magnus played knight to h2, and this is losing because of rook to d1. Take, take. Knight f1, take, and king to h2. And now, the last move in the game was played, and Fabiano made his worst mistake. So what is the correct move, and what was his mistake? Anybody knows? Is it the correct or the mistake?
I vote bishop g1.
You guys are correct. So bishop g1 was the correct move, because then if the king goes to let's say h3, the queen f5 check, g4, and we have a mate in a few moves. Check and checkmate. And if he goes to h1, check and check. We get the queen. But instead, In this position, he played queen to g1. Just going from he could get like minus 15 on the computer engine. He just went for the pawn on e7. But Magnus resigned. So his worst move in the game, his worst mistake was the last move of the game. But obviously it's still winning, and Magnus just resigned. So good job, Fabi. This is only tells us that if he can do it with black, he can win the championship. And yeah, so congratulations to him and good luck in the championship. This was International Master Vitaly Neimer from the St. Louis Chess Club. Thank you for joining us.